Contenders. It's the heart and soul of our sport.
Will all our heroes start on their path to greatness?
What is Contenders about, you might ask?
It's about these little shining moments
where these players strive to become who they're truly meant to be.
They get better, better, and better.
Twisted Minds currently ahead of everybody.
Whisper showing why they're number one.
That is a huge shift of momentum.
Oh my God, Squid. What on earth? How did Saints even manage to bring that one back?
Genuinely one of the best Baras in the entire world.
It all stems from this moment right here.
No way, Quandop!
I love this when the fight is dire, when they must make a play.
Nothing short of magnificent.
LH Cloudy, two-man self-destruct. I never thought I'd see that in my life.
Oh my God, this meta's great. There's so much diversity.
They're not going down without fights.
A big no! The Lucio hits the ground!
Another sound barrier finally lands from Kellex. The Blizzard out. It's bought 3 kills from Twisted Minds. EXO are definitely contesting. Just wrestle control of the map. Nobody's feeling safe.
The best storylines that we have in Contenders are these teams that come in and they surprise as things go on.
For us, weeks and weeks of play have led to this moment.
But for these players,
It's more than that.
It's everything they are and everything they want to be.
The Overwatch Contenders Spring Series playoffs continue right now.
Woo! Oh, you feel that, Herix? That's chills right there. It's grand finals day, and it's all come down to this. Every last match that's been played, everything that these teams have put into it, all boil down to the next few hours, Herix. We got ours coming up. EU already happened. That was absolutely incredible. How you feeling about the proceedings today? It has already been a fun one.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely started off hot. I expect it to get even hotter. Yeah, it's spring stage. We're gearing towards summer, but already off to a hot start. Let's take a look at how things went in EU. I want to call this a barn burner, but it was only really one in the sense that it was there and then it wasn't. I mean, Twisted Minds ran through their opposition. EXO managed to make their way through Triple Esports, and then I mean, a swift defeat at the hands of Twisted Minds at the grand finals. That team just looked incredible throughout the entire tournament, insane in the group stage, and then flawless throughout the bracket.
I mean, it's funny, right? You look at the 2-week break that we had between the bracket and the regular season happening, and so much happened in NA, but in EU, everything stayed the same. Twisted Minds remained indomitable. That's respectable, but like I said, over in NA, things have been anything but the same. The going phrase, the going theme thus far has been really just any given Sunday, but I think Saturday will do here. This has been a mess of a bracket.
Yeah, I mean, think about the way we started, right? Whisper versus Afterlife. That was first seed versus 8th seed, and the 8th seed, the lowest possible seed that comes into this tournament, takes down what seemed like the best team coming into this tournament. Now Wisp is no longer here. We're not seeing Redbirds. We're not seeing Afterlife Pip. Trick Room's gone as well. I mean,
it's a massacre.
Has been a crazy roller coaster experience. Definitely. I mean, we've heard it all throughout the tournament as well from everybody that this has been probably the most parity we've ever seen in a Contenders bracket ever, and certainly in my knowledge, and that goes back some ways admittedly, but this is definitely the closest we've ever seen. And yeah, it's any given, I guess, yeah, Saturday at this point.
And I mean, again, we have to give a shout out to the 2 weeks that happened between group stage and this point in the bracket, because the level that these teams developed, the hours that they were putting in, the double blocks that they were putting in to improve, the level of play alone and the meta development is literally night and day. It is completely different gameplay from every last one of these teams, and if you didn't adapt, you fell short. Funnily enough, though, we have 2 teams that managed to fall just a little short of that upper bracket, but I'll be honest here, we didn't expect either of them to be here, did we?
Yeah, not at all, but funny enough, for different reasons, right? This first team that we've got coming up into the losers finals here, Saints, well, the reason that we're kind of appalled about this is that Saints coming into this, they were supposed to be, I mean, probably the best team alongside Wisp, I guess, depending on where you want to gauge things out of the group stage. Saints were right there. They were looking like a crazy team. Obviously, they had stuff to figure out with finding that last player. They've managed to do that, but still, Saints find themselves not in a grand final, at least not yet. But this team still I mean, they do look insane still. I mean, you look at the
it's a grand finals roster.
Alone,
yeah.
I mean, absolutely through and through.
Yeah, I mean, the name power here has been incredible. Tree, who is blown up in recent seasons, has done phenomenal. King, Mikey, Squid, you don't need to talk about the pedigree that this team offers. What you need to talk about is just how they ended up here. But I think, oddly enough, to comment on, you know, they were supposed to be the top team, we talked about how close it was, but every time we talked and interviewed players about how close the teams are in this bracket, they were always like, yeah, anybody could take it, but Saints is pretty clearly on top. Well, we've got different stuff. Clearly, there's some holes they got to patch up and some things they need to fix, especially in the face of a team that, like we said, should not be here, but for a very different reason. 0-3 Splash were the team coming in with, I mean, the worst record of the winning teams, and that is not to say much.
Yeah, I mean, +4 map diff in the group stage. This is the team that got third in Open Division and have found their way to a losers final, potentially realistically one step away from a grand final. They just have to obviously make it through one of the toughest matchups that they could possibly even imagine. But, I mean, when you look at this team, it makes a lot of sense why you do still see them here, right? Cowman, Aiko, Fix, those are known names. Then Neutral has been playing phenomenally. Lukewarm, I think, has really kind of set a lot of the spotlight on this team on himself, because Lukewarm's play individually has been exceptional through this tournament.
Yeah, and I love the way that 0-3 Splash not just have Lukewarm on the team, but also play to Lukewarm strengths. A lot of the things we're seeing 0-3 Splash are not things that other teams are doing, investing so heavily within their DPS, but Lukewarm's proven that if you just continue to invest, you get more and more out of it, though. Another shout out, you brought up Neutral for a sec, but like, let's be real. Third place in OD, this is Neutral's first time in Contenders. Like, this is the first go around, and he's setting the bar that high. Like, what are you meant to do to try and top that?
I mean, the funny thing is, we had a similar story last year in EU where, you know, there was a couple of players that just had their first time in Contenders. They won Contenders. There was this great moment. But now in NA, we're looking to see if maybe someone can do that here. It's been a while since we've seen some newcomers make a name for themselves this late into a bracket, but let's not waste any more time. We're going to go into our first map of the day here in North America. It's going to be Ilios, where we start things off, and this is, I think, definitely going to be a good shout for Saints in particular. We know that Ilios, there's a lot of good opportunities to play to Mikey's strengths more specifically than anything else, and Saints, I think, really love to do that as often as they can.
Yeah, I think that was a big factor to them doing so well within that group stage, is that when the monkey meta kind of came, solidified itself, kind of carbonized up until that final moment of the group stage when everything kind of blew up for those 2 weeks and the meta really diversified, it was really Saints and Wisp that were at the helm. And it's no coincidence that they have almost and arguably the two best monkey players that we've got here within Mikey and Jay Card.
Yeah, I mean, between the two, it's hard to compete against that, right? I mean, two players that have just absolutely set the bar. But this is certainly, I mean, it's not going to be the entire story, right? This is just one facet of this story. This is going to be a long series played against by two teams that have, I would say, pretty different styles in terms of what they want to play. Obviously, the meta is going to dictate on certain maps what they are forced to play. But nonetheless, these two teams are going to kind of be at that tug of war, trying to figure out, okay, how can we play to our team's strengths? And again, a lot of that for Saints is going to be seeing stuff like these Winston-based compositions, as opposed to 0-3 Splash, who really like to set up as many opportunities for Lukewarm as possible, whether that be on things like flank routes on Sojourn or putting him on Tracer or whatever it may be. That's what 0-3 Splash is looking to accomplish.
Let us know, though. Like we said, two teams that weren't really supposed to be here to begin with have fumbled their way through and managed their way to a lower finals. Let us know who you think is going to make it out on top. The resilient 0-3 Splash or the indomitable Saints. 1 and 2 respectively as we roll out. Both teams, similar compositions, but those tanks, you cannot really put into perspective the difference that it's going to make in terms of play style between these two, but both definitely equally as capable on their respective picks.
So setting up on that high ground, you can see 0-3 Splash contesting here. A lot of this damage is going to be forced into the tank, specifically onto Mikey from 0-3 Splash. Lukewarm, Aiko, Cowman have a lot of potential to make sure that Mikey can't play aggressive, and even diving into that backline, 0-3 Splash have a lot of defensive answers.
Here we go with a big opener on the Fix, who just steps a little too far forward. 0-3 Splash is gone. They'll allow the point to fall the other way.
Be careful there, Tree. Dangerously close. Interested to see, though, this matchup. I mean, obviously, there is a little bit of a difference in the tank, which means a difference in playstyle, but Tree has really been hammering away at O3 Splash. They've been able to find these little picks that O3 Splash, very tough to deal with all this incoming pressure. They're going to have to figure out a way to at least get in and start a fight. I mean, so far, there really hasn't even been one.
Hats off to Tree. I mean, especially in the face of Echo, somebody who's been known for the Echo for some time. This performance is solid, but it's only netted them 34%. This is far from over. O3 Splash line themselves up for the next passage of play. One already has had the recall forced out, though, so this is only a disadvantage. Tracer won't be able to work her way around the backline as much as she might want to, but with the pulse bomb in hand, the odds increase ever upwards. I'm just looking for a target to put it on. Finds a Brig. Stick won't connect, but the Juicers will. Cowman sends it into Juby and finds a big opener. The O3 Splash are now knocking in damage. Could invest in this. There's a nano boost in the back pocket of neutral if they want to throw it onto Cowman, but they opt not to. Instead, deciding to go for the next one.
That is a huge fight win for Saints. I mean, they've been able to solidify those first two quick ones because of just early picks, but that was really the first full-fledged fight, and they're able to get out ahead. And now you look at this situation that O3 Splash is in, and it is dire. I mean, we are at now about 80% scored by Saints, and it doesn't feel like there's very many inroads left for O3 Splash.
I mean, they've got a nano boost that does at least manage to go out before neutral gets put on her, but let's be real with ourselves. The odds are decreasing moment by moment. There's got to be a touch here for O3 Splash, and they have so few tools to actually do it. Neutral's going to swap to a Kiriko in order to try and make that happen, and a small regroup on the side lane here for O3 Splash before they eventually step forward towards the point. But again, that still is lacking in numbers. OT burns down, and Saints, in control the entire time, have given themselves 1 point up here on Ilios.
And let's be honest, that looks very easy for Saints as well, through and through. I mean, even just the way that we saw that start, they got that boop onto Fix, and he went off the map. O3 Splash forced to reset. Then another pick came out from Tree, forced to reset. And right now we do see 58% of people believing in O3 Splash, which obviously things will have to turn around pretty significantly if that is going to go that direction. But
I mean, not to cope and claim Mickey Mouse map type, but like they did get 33% off the back of like picks, and then ult charge was going their way. So let's see what happens if maybe we get a more neutral start here for O3 Splash. That's got to be the hope for them at least. On the bright side, Tree at least is not on the Echo to provide those picks at such rates, but the Ashe is still ever dangerous in the hands of a player who we regarded for some time as a rising star of North American Contenders. It's now blossomed into something very, very consistent for Saints. Echo opting for a much closer range option in the Reaper. O3 Splash now have been poised the question, how do they close the gap on top of Saints? It's far from easy, instead opting to try and play neutral on the point and force Saints to come to them. Tricky proposition now that the point is unlocked. Saints will eventually move forward. The damage will be there if Echo steps out.
I love this setup from Mikey. He can go for that backline. They pour it out, but he's still in a great position to lay down some tank damage, and that's exactly what they're going to look to do.
Cowman's just getting cyberbullied. There's nothing more to it. Cowman just had to stand there and take the damage. That high ground mobility from Tree and King just poking downwards was far too much to actually deal with, and Echo couldn't actually get on top of anything.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this Saints composition is that a lot of this backline is safe. Tree is going to be safe. O3 Splash, they're the team that needs to come forward and try to make a play, especially with some of these adjustments that they've made. Whereas Saints, they can just go for, you know, as much tank pressure as they want to. Tree can lay into Cowman, force some of those defensive cooldowns out, force that Nemesis form out even, and really kind of keep O3 Splash off timings.
Timing's changed big time here for O3 Splash. They changed to a very different composition. Echo over to the Mei, lukewarm to what has become a signature Sojourn. Still though, even on the Sojourn, you're not immune to that pulse bomb. Does evade it for now. Echo with two openers though. The Icicle's lethal as ever. A third on the plate. Frozen up and taken down. Echo looking for a full set of 5. Is going to have to go home a little empty-handed, but still more than full.
I mean, kind of a necessary turning point for O3 Splash, but they do it on their best composition, at least in my mind here as well.
Oh, certainly.
O3 Splash, I mean, this has been their bread and butter, so why not go ahead and pull it out when you need it the most? I guess one of the problems here is that Saints are going to be building up to ults, but O3 Splash did so much in that last fight that they've kind of equalized economy. This is actually a great place for O3 Splash to play from here.
I think it's fine that Bob's actually not going to do too much. If they want, the front line can just move forward. Cowman can aggress. Still an LOS of the Kiriko. Soundberry will allow them to engage on top of them, but if Saints survive this, Juby Soundberry will be the trump card. Don't forget ultimates. Tree's got one on the Lukewarm. All of a sudden, the fight's been flipped on his head. Saints save that critical support ultimate and look to hold on to it as well. They're not going to hold that Q button down anytime soon. This could be huge heading into a fight with the Blizzard up for Echo.
Yeah, that could actually solidify the map for them. The fact that they were able to hold onto that and win the fight regardless. They get that flip. Now they're taking the lead. I mean, this is a great point for Saints to be able to have that kind of advantage because now O3 Splash are going to be coming in here. They're going to have that overclock from Lukewarm. We know how lethal we can be with that, but also the Blizzard. Saints could utilize that one tool and potentially allow them to get through both of those offensive pressure weapons.
All about timing, though. Juby still has to nail this. A lot easier said than done for Lucy on such a high-pressure situation. Shout out for Mikey. Resources draining slowly but surely for Saints. Reprieve is given yet again by the DPS line, though. A pulse bomb, a pick. What can't King and Tree do?
I mean, the big thing here is that the same conversation we just had, it's time for round 2, man. Juby still has that ultimate. They still have Soundberry. They're pulling ultimates. I mean, O3 Splash, there's not even looking like there's a shot that they're going to make it back to the point.
I think the biggest flex, Juby's not going to press Q. Juby's just going to refuse to use Sound Barrier. They get an overtime tick at the very least to O3 Splash, but I don't think there's any more in the tank for them. Mix goes down. Overtime burns. In map 1, before you can say map 1 is done.
My head already spinning right now. I mean, O3 Splash, not a hot start for them. However, we've seen this situation before. I mean, we've seen them start off not so great on Ilios. This has been the story, I think, of their tournament process is Ilios, not exactly their map. They are able to then transition later into the series. I mean, it's kind of like the Redbirds of old, except for it's specifically Ilios and not just control maps for the most part. We'll have to see. I mean, from what we saw there, Saints look at full control either way. So it didn't seem like a control thing, more of just the way that we saw these team fights going down. I mean, Tree and King are going to be problems throughout.
Yeah, it didn't feel like O3 Splash were behind in the macro or fundamentals. It really felt like a mechanical thing for them, which is surprising considering the roster that they're offering up. Usually it's not too much difficulty contesting them, but Saints' willingness to play at range and trust Mikey to stay alive with the help of Squid and Juby is really doing a lot. Tree and King can't be stopped right now, and if these picks don't stop, or they at least aren't contested by applying more pressure onto Mikey or that support lineup of Saints, I see a rough road ahead for O3.
Yeah, it's just difficult for me to go in and do that, you know, Mickey Mouse map cope kind of thing that sometimes I'll admittedly do when you see things like spawn camping happening on both maps. I mean, it genuinely was both sub-maps that we saw that kind of stuff happening, and it just didn't feel like O3 Splash had their feet underneath them. They just weren't able to find some kind of way to get something going outside of that one fight where Eiko just took charge and just hit everybody in the face with an icicle. That's not going to be something that you can rely on consistently. So as we're getting ready to go into a map number 2 here, where O3 Splash do tend to turn things back around after an Ilios, I'm looking for not just obviously a map and a compositional shift to kind of make a difference, but also some other things need to change here as well.
I mean, I think the map will do a lot for them. We can conject about what's coming up, because they've picked generally similar maps throughout it. But yeah, individually, it needs to step up a little bit. And like you said, there's some compositional changes they can do to make that. But I think, like you said earlier, that's their strongest composition by and large. When they get Lukewarm out playing proficiently on the Sojourn, they can do a lot more, but it feels like that hasn't really been the case. He hasn't been able to heat up. He hasn't gotten the space. A lot of the flank routes that we saw him taking time and time and time again in previous matches just haven't been there. So for me, the map's got to open up big time if they want to do that. This front-to-back playstyle that they're trying to go for has not been it.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing about Ilios in particular. When you look at maps specifically like Ruins, where you're looking for those opportunities to get some of those flank routes, well, it's very easy to deny those lanes. It's very easy for Saints to kind of just hold out on the right and left side and just make sure that one of Tree or King can easily deal with that, and then everybody else just has to put tank pressure down so the tank can't really affect that process at all either, and it becomes almost impossible for Lukewarm to be able to pull some of that stuff off that we often see him pulling off on things like King's Row, Shambali, whatever you may see him doing that kind of stuff on. So I think, obviously, with the map like we just saw, Saints came in very prepared with probably the best pick they could have come out with. But yeah, moving into a map number 2, expect things to shift at least a little bit as we go into Blizzard World, the map choice taken by O3 Splash. And this is certainly one where we will see that change affected to a degree. And this is one that I think we also talked about early on with O3 Splash, where we saw them playing things like King's Row a lot more often, but Blizzard World seemed to make a lot of sense. And also with this pick here as well, you could expect another change to happen, and that's going to come from Saints instead.
Yeah, just putting in False the off tank. The Blizzard World meta has largely been dominated by D.Va. The survivability on the point, the ability to monitor those high grounds effectively, and let you play either some more pick-based stuff or even play double flex support for some of these teams that like to opt for it, is completely there and on the table when you take that pick into account. That being said, False has put up some good numbers thus far, but it's going up against Cowman. That's going to be a real test of strength on the D.Va.
And not only that, but also you're talking about an O3 Splash team that has kind of found a little bit of a home in playing to Cowman's playstyles, whether it be on Ramatra, whether it be on D.Va. They really have found some consistency there, which is a big reason why you're seeing a team that has come, from, I believe, 3rd place from OD all the way to, the end of the Contenders tournament. We're on the final day here, and here they are competing against a team that typically wins grand finals, not just shows up to them, but wins them. We'll have to see if they can compete. They're going to have to turn up the heat quite a bit here on Blizzard World. That one did not go their way.
I am really curious to see what they opt for in terms of DPS, though. Lukewarm and Echo obviously can take more dive-oriented approaches to this map, or the longer-range, more pick-based stuff. And I think that might actually be the critical decision, especially when you consider the work that Tree and King were putting on in the previous maps. Do you try to match it? Do you try to bring out some sort of Hanzo Tracer of your own, or do you bring something new to the table?
Yeah, of course, hashtag OWPTP2023 on Twitter. Use the hashtag there. Get involved in the conversation. We definitely want to hear from you guys. But focusing back in on our matchup, obviously, we've already talked about the potential for things like D.Va. We know that things like Ramatra can come up at certain times as well. Sigma looks to be the opener here, at least for Saints. We'll have to see if O3 Splash want to commit to this, but this is a Saints team that I think we have seen, this kind of stuff already from them historically, where we see them trying to play to Tree's Hanzo more specifically than anything else. Obviously, King on the Tracer is a big factor as well, but just buying time for your playmakers to do what they do best, which is make plays. I think this is a good look for them. O3 Splash, kind of looking to do the exact same thing, just very much a different setup. Lukewarm wants to go on these flanks. Tree is really just kind of be delivering from the back line.
That's not too bad, but that difference does matter, especially for Cowman and False, who are dealing with very different situations, right? Cowman is effectively playing Sigma without a shield for a large majority of this. But with that advantage, Lukewarm can go and claim high ground, like you've just seen him do. Now, yes, False is still battling Cowman, but with Lukewarm raining down on the support line of Saints, nothing's really ever free. You see just how far back Squid, Juby, Tree have all been pushed, and False is going to have to give up an equivalent amount of space. Having both the kinetic grasp and the shield forced out, this tank battle is being firmly won by Cowman. Saints have been put in a locker here on Blizzard World as the points nearly ticked up to 2 already. Step a little bit too far. Fortin pays the price, though. Just a moment's hesitation is what undoes it all for O3 Splash.
Fantastic job from Squid and Juby just to stabilize the team. As you saw, Saints falling back into that corner where they just got forced there. So much healing going out. Squid already with Amp Matrix ready. Juby obviously getting a ton of value out of those whip shots, getting just landing melees onto Cowman as well, just to make sure that they could keep up that Inspire. That is huge for Saints and their ability to just stave off O3 Splash, a team that, they were winning that through pressure alone, not getting any picks, just pushing Saints back. Saints will have to rebound and fire back big time with some of the ults that they were able to get through that last fight.
They've got plenty of them. It's begin to cascade upon the point as Squid opens up with the amplification matrix, though Saints extend very far into it. A trade of pulse bombs results in a big kill for Saints, but the trades back are equally as dangerous. 0-3 splash. Hit them with a counterpunch I'm not sure they were ready for. Light Flux feels a little unnecessary from Cowman, but nevertheless, a big fight. And I think a lot off the back of Saints kind of overplaying their hand with that amplification matrix.
Yeah, I think they wanted to get something going early. They didn't want to fall into that same position that they were in that first fight where they just got pressured out of position. Fortunately for them, they just weren't able to get any viability out of some of that early aggression in the second fight. So, Saints holding on to the Dragon Strike. They have it ready again here, and they're going to want to use it early. In fact, they kind of need to use it early while they're in a great position to get value out of it still here.
Looks like Tree sort of disagrees. Mid-fight Dragon's thrown out. Cowman! Oh my god! I mean, the man's beans got sufficiently baked by that dragon. There is no better way to put it. That is a rough one for the tank player.
Yeah, I mean, Tree really couldn't have held that much longer than he did there. I mean, like we talked about, we had to see him get that out early while they still had value on that stairs, or on those stairs before 0-3 Splash were set up, ready to send Lukewarm up onto that flank. So that's still something that 0-3 Splash are going to look to do here, Dor. And I expect that Aiko is going to be trying to pull Saints apart just a little bit to enable that play. You see Lukewarm, he's sneaking up on that side. He wants it.
This is actually, I think, a misplay big time by Saints. They're overplaying their hand big time. Lukewarm, maybe over-aggressive, but now Saints are completely scattered. Squid and Juby, they're stuck on an island. I mean, this is a raft up here, and in all the meantime, you mentioned those couple of meters pushed by Aiko, but those couple of meters broke that choke point entirely, so the idea of fighting back through it now is to the dismay of Saints. 0-3 Splash have the far superior position. It's just a matter of taking advantage of it, as Saints have somewhat stabilized, but it doesn't seem to be well enough.
You gotta love the position that Lukewarm was in too, coming up off a respawn and just having the ability to free fire into everyone's back. Saints, I mean, they get out, but just kind of barely, and now they're looking to stabilize yet again here, and they're probably going to be forcing to use Ant Matrix to get something going here, especially without King. This does not bode well for them.
Yeah, I mean, normally this is a 2-fight point, but they spent one of those all the way forward on that spawn hold. I mean, boy, if they paid the price for it. 3 Splash move forward with a one-man advantage. Saints having to respect that, staying back. Grab Flux to open things up. Lukewarm throwing in plenty of damage from the wings, though not from the flank, his usual preferred position. That's how we saw 0-3 Splash take fights in the previous map, and it didn't work out well for them. As Saints are so willing, so capable of bending but not breaking, as they do exactly that right now. As that bend reverberates back towards 0-3 Splash, they feel the full brunt of the force they just threw at Saints, now bolstered by the rally of Juby. A Gravitic Flux in a small room as well spells death for many a member of 0-3 Splash. If Tree has anything to say about it, running forward towards the rest of them, fearing nothing with the help of his backline.
I mean, almost feels like a miracle that Saints came out of that one successful. 0-3 Splash had a great kind of pivot mid-fight there, but Saints just were able to answer it so well, and that setup from False as well to just slam everybody down, got control of Cowman to help deal with that tank. Huge. Now you see, of course, Fix going on to Zenyatta. They're going to have a little bit more pressure here. Also a little bit more value given over to Aiko in this Tracer battle as well, depending on where they want to place that Harmony, where they want to place the Discord as well. Curious to see how they want to employ the utility that Zenyatta brings to the table here.
I like this angle Lukewarm's taken a lot. Unfortunately, the rest of the team was dragged off quite wisely by Tree, not allowing them to capitalize and kind of pincer alongside the Sojourn. Just a quick push reset for a few moments, but 0-3 Splash are going to be lacking in terms of positioning.
2 DPS on the flank here, just trying to push them back. Saints do manage to pull a major cooldown out of Squid. Or rather, 0-3 Splash managed to do that. Now stepping up. Oh, they got to be careful with that.
That was the best one they could have found. I mean, they wanted to use that overclock from high ground. That was the whole point of getting up there. Now 0-3 Splash are empty-handed, without tooth to bite their prey with. Got to find their way with a Gravitic Flux, maybe. Aiko's down as well, though there's just no follow-up. I want to touch the point as well. Tree playing bouncer to the cart. Puts a stop to the entire push from 0-3 that really started to look good after they broke that spawn hold.
It feels so good to see Tree back in form as well, right? I mean, there was a little bit of a conversation after Pro-Am that, Tree wasn't really playing up to potential that we saw, especially throughout the I mean, all of last year, and it feels like Tree has very much been back in this tournament. We've seen him really kind of hit his stride yet again here, and especially against a player like Lukewarm, taking him out of the equation. That has been so impactful for Saints in this matchup because, like we said with O3 Splash, a lot of what they do as a team is in setting up Lukewarm, and when Lukewarm isn't even in the picture, I mean, there goes the entire game plan.
Speaking of game plans being thrown out the window, O3 Splash. Change it up big time and go to what we kind of were hinting at before this map in double flex support paired with the D.Va. This is primed on keeping that backline safe, though I think it's interesting. Usually we see either double flex support with an Ashe to kind of help peel and use that coach gun to pull away some of the damage, or Brig Ana with the Sombra, allowing the Sombra and DPS to move forward and the Ana can stay safe with the Brig. But to go for double flex support and the more aggressive Sombra option, that backline's going to be a little bit more vulnerable than a lot of teams like it to be, but Saints don't really opt for too much dive within their composition, so maybe it's an adjustment to that.
They go doing some early scouting here. Probably not going to get too much out of this, obviously. You really don't ever find too much there, but still, early information is early information. Saints stepping up, getting into position. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a much different fight than what we saw. It's probably not going to be one where it's one pressure versus pressure. This is O3 Splash looking for an opportunity to go and dive onto one player, neutral, Echo, Lukewarm, Cowman, going to get involved and then set up there as well by the biotic grenade coming from Fix. All things need to kind of work in tandem where this doesn't work.
I do really like it for them, though. I think they're playing into Saints very heavily here, knowing that Saints don't like to run the dive and maybe greeting a little bit by running that double flex support, but there's nothing to punish it on the other side, so they basically have free reign of this high ground. Neutral uses it beautifully and dutifully to take down King, though is given a taste of his own medicine at the hand of Tree, and now that Saints have garnered a nice position here in Snacks Ramus, they can start pushing Cowman off the point, start getting those ticks going up.
Yeah, I think we saw that early pick come out from O3 Splash and then got a little bit too confident, I think. A little bit too hasty setting things up to try to take over the fight. Saints just took over instead. Tree again just showing what he is capable of. And Saints very, very handily deal with that first objective and now set up. Remember, O3 Splash, they didn't get through this section of the map at all, so Saints are in a very powerful and commanding position at this stage in the map with so much time on the clock and not much distance really that they have left to cover.
I mean, 5 minutes is an eternity. You're talking about not just any game, but a match of this caliber. I mean, the teams should be so evenly matched. To get 5 minutes out of anything, I think shows the dominance that Saints are putting on right now. O3 Splash hold on to their high ground, not opting for any sort of close hold like we saw out of Saints earlier, but again, very different compositions, all for very different things. That high ground is contested endlessly, though, by the arrows of Tree. Every single time he throws one, the chances of it hitting increase bit by bit until eventually Fix is taken out, alongside the rest of the team falling down like a house of cards. Neutral accepts his fate, realizes that there's just one fight between Saints and the end of the map here, but, I mean, looking at the ultimates, it might not even be that. O3 Splash 10% away from some critical ones.
Yeah, I mean, O3 Splash, they're going to be desperate in this fight. They have to get set up. They need 10% ult charge on basically everyone. Lukewarm sets things up nicely. There is a shot.
Oh, is there a touch, though? They spent the entirety of Cowman's mech, and there's just nothing left past that. The 10% they were behind on those ultimates bit them at the end of the day, and Saints take away a clean Blizzard World, and not just a clean one, but a very worrying one for O3 Splash.
Yeah, and I think if you're O3 Splash at this point, there's really only one thing left that can potentially save you, and it's just a Shimbali pick, probably. That's something that we've seen from them constantly as third map, going through their series. Throw everything into Lukewarm if you can, but overall, this has been all Saints all day long, and it's been a short day, I'll tell you that.
And again, we just have to highlight the DPS are playing out of their minds right now. I know we've talked about Tree really stepping up this tournament and kind of returning to form, but even for the return to form that we've seen out of Tree, this has been a step beyond that, it feels. It is not just a backpack for Saints, because it does feel like the rest of the team's doing their job, but let's be real, the win condition has been those picks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting some of those first picks, and it wasn't even just Tree. Obviously, we've seen tons of that throughout this series, where you saw second fight first sub map of Ilios. That was Tree setting up with those stickies, and then of course we move on, and you see just tons of picks coming out when he's on Hanzo. But even other players getting involved as well. I mean, just think about how we started off the series. Juby getting that massive whip shot on the fix, and that really kind of set the tone where there's been a lot of first picks going the way of Saints, where O3 Splash really haven't had a lot of opportunities. And funny enough, one of the biggest opportunities that they've gotten with the first pick was that final fight there on Blizzard World, where they still lost because there was just too much of the tank already built up momentum-wise for Saints. So obviously a difficult situation to be in if you're O3 Splash at this stage in the series.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, they're pretty happy with where they've got, but I don't think they're done cooking quite yet. We'll see what they can bring up for us after this halftime break.
Are your Dragon Blades missing the mark?
Do you want to go from a bad Genji to a pro Genji?
Looking for that next big thing to rank up and improve your gameplay?
Well, look no further than our brand new Overwatch Contenders Genji skin! With our exclusive custom-made hoodie, your Genji gameplay will automatically be taken up a notch.
And you'll look more stylish as you team wipe fight after fight.
Just look at that stitching!
To acquire your sick Genji threads,
So you can destroy in ranked and dominate all your enemies.
dude, chill.
Sorry man, I'm just getting into it.
All you have to do is connect your Battle.net account to Twitch.
After that, watching Overwatch Contenders will contribute to your drops progress.
Letting you claim each magnificent offering, including the keen blade of Overwatch Contenders Genji.
Love watching contenders in Overwatch League, but hate it when they come and spoil your tournament. Boy, do I have a product for you. Operation Dive Party is going on and signups are now open. Sign your team up of players exclusively so long as they have not been in either of those competitions so that you can make your rise to the top without those pesky pros.
I gotta say, Dor, we gotta start cooking up a team. We gotta start figuring out how are we gonna get involved. But luckily, we don't have to play against any of the players that are competing today, so that's at least good news for us because we would not do too well, especially against a Saints team that have looked phenomenal through this series already. 2-0 against an O3 Splash team that has, I mean, they've been running through the lower side of this bracket. I mean, if there's ever any indication that there's a team that is not a gimmick, that is not a fluke, it is this one. They've gone through so many good teams to get to this position. And they now have to turn themselves back around here in a lower final that they are not doing so hot in. And that starts here on map number 3. Talked about it before the break. No surprises here, Doors. Shambali is map number 3.
This has been the map of maps for O3 Splash. Run the Ramatra. put in Lukewarm on the Sojourn and just let the dude flank to his heart's content. It is a straightforward play. Every team that has come up against them knew it was going to happen. None of them were able to stop it. And that has been kind of the through point entirely thus far. But Saints, I think, have shown us a level of prep after yesterday's loss that we have not seen from this team in a minute. They are poised, ready, I think more put together than they even normally seem, which is crazy considering the caliber of play that we're used to out of that team. But I think that's just one of those effects of having those high-level Contenders teams. It's not really they get beat once and it's like, oh, they're just not used to losing. No, the top-level Contender teams, they get beat, and then the next day, whoever's in their path, that poor bloke is not going to have a good time.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we're witnessing here today, right? I mean, Saints have been pretty much dominant. I mean, they were only one single loss in the entire group stage, and then they kind of decimated everybody in their path in the upper bracket. Pip went down, Trick Room went down 3-0, and it wasn't really until yesterday where we saw them taking on Timeless, who have been just out of nowhere incredible, and now Saints look back to form. So as much as we say we didn't expect them to be here, and that makes a lot of sense, I don't think that Saints are playing down this tournament. I mean, everything outside of that loss to Timeless has been to par or exceeding, especially from players like Tree. We've even seen great stuff, obviously, from King, which has been, I think, a real highlight for Saints. I mean, not just the fact that we've seen so much conversation around this team just being, you know, it's the Tree show, where especially through this tournament and even last year, that wasn't the case, and it certainly isn't now. I mean, this whole collective team has really come up, and they've been performing so well together. I mean, everybody is at that same level, I think.
Yeah, and having such high-level players and that are so confident in one another has enabled Saints to do what I think they've done best thus far in the series, and that's that bend, don't break mentality that they've had the entire time. Right. They have taken copious amounts of pressure from O3 Splash and just completely ignored it until eventually the DPS can give those picks that we've been praising them for so much. It's going to be hardest on this map, though, if there ever was one, due to how open it is, because it's easy to bend, but when you bend and then Lukewarm comes in from the flank and finds that back line that backed up so far, all of a sudden things get real messy. Game plan here for O3 Splash is clear, but Saints have been on top of the entire series. Let's see how this one goes. Cowman immediately taking a bit of pressure in the early hold. Arrows again become ever the more dangerous with each following one. Fortunately, the danger has been removed from the situation. Tree down, Squid to follow. Saints have to go back.
I mean, playing from their spawn, Saints are certainly... I mean, it's only a matter of time, it feels like, that they're going to be able to break out of this. But you do still see a lot of those same things happening for O3 Splash, just staying very, very well composed in this little space that they're in, kind of congested here, but working well in this space. And you can see Lukewarm looking for that opportunity. He's fishing for it. Watch as this fight progresses. Watch Lukewarm try to make some shifts, try to change the position.
One. See, just like that. And a poke away on King brings King down to 5 HP and pulls an Ice Block. I mean, that's massive resources, especially when you're staring down an Amplification Matrix. They catch out both King and Squid in rotation. Now, yeah, False and Juby are just a little sad about the current situation for themselves.
Yeah, it's hard not to be. I mean, you're sitting there, you've gone down 90 seconds in your time bank already, and this is one of the longer first points. I mean, to round these corners, to get through some of these sections, it takes a lot of momentum, it takes a lot of time, more especially. And at this stage, you can see O3 Splash, they have a ton of ultimates to back them up and maybe extend this.
Hard agree, Sleepy Doc. Anything is possible. Speaking of which, reverse sweeps are very much in the cards this season, it seems. See about this one. Be a tall order in the face of such giants as Saints. O3 Splash believe. False taking the brunt of the pressure, opting not to rotate over towards the health pack this time. Tree low, does just get popped up by Squid, but it's Juby paying the price this time. We're down to a minute 50 on the clock before finally an elimination is found for Saints. A late sound barrier from Fix enables them to pick one off on Cowman. That's just about taking the remaining members off the cart, which is seemingly easier said than done in the face of Echo's May.
Now that they can start going for Lukewarm here, they already figured out Fix. I mean, really, I think the big deal here for Saints is the fact that finally they're going to be able to start moving forward, obviously. But I think bigger thing is the fact that that could have been a lot worse. Fix was very close to getting that sound barrier off onto Calban. That would have forced resources away from Saints. They still were probably in a position to be able to win that fight regardless, but it would have taken way more resources. Now they have some momentum to work with, and I think Saints are in a much better position to maybe see the end of this point here. O3 Splash, though, they're going to be quick to retaliate. They're going to have Blizzard ready. They're looking to slow down Saints. They're looking to try to get as much damage into False as possible so that when he does go for Annihilation, it's not going to be profoundly effectful.
And with Tree down, the odds begin to turn. The ultimates may go the way of Saints, but the tides turn the way of O3 Splash. More from high ground would do it. One looking for an opportunity. Biding his time. Doesn't opt for the full push. But with the help of a Blizzard, decides to go all in.
Well, Echo, though, going down means that Saints can push through O3 Splash, and they're going to do that with False's Annihilation, but just not finding the damage. False was just forced to hold the block the entire duration.
Wow. I mean, it's a clean disengage by O3 Splash, and they still have this high ground. Every ultimate's been used, but Lukewarm's Overclock is the next card to be dealt. Saints have to deal with that, knowing full well that it's up, and again, with this high ground, with the angles to play with that Lukewarm has, do not doubt what this man can do. Overclock available.
Close to be able to pull that out. Yeah, and on top of that, Cowman very close to Annihilation as well, going toe-to-toe with King's Blizzard. The Annihilation could actually be the thing that sets the tone, but you see this flank, here it is.
That flank, Lukewarm signature play! Immortality field down, False to go next. They are but aim trainers in the face of Lukewarm. This team invests, and all they get is dividends. Saints have recognized very quickly that you do not dare play into O3 Splash on Shambali.
The fun thing about that one too is that oftentimes you see one of the big indicators of that actually being a thing that O3 Splash are going to go for is Fix working that off angle too on top of it. But Lukewarm actually did that one solo, just completely unattached from the rest of the team. So O3 Splash had a lot more staying power and also a lot more potential to get value out of Cowman with his Annihilation. So there was always going to be that fallback plan, which was incredibly smart from O3 Splash. And now they have a great win condition for them set here on Shambali. I would say definitely their home map.
Incredible plays by Lukewarm. Coordinated push. Ultimate trump cards. The disengage prior to that was beautiful. O3 Splash look in their element. But we have to remind ourselves they are still 2-0 down in the series. It should be an uncomfortable situation no matter how good of a defense you just put up.
I think the one thing here, Dor, that I'm always going to remain concerned about is going to be Tree. On that Hanzo, we know that those picks are going to come out. We know that that's something that O3 Splash already has struggled against, especially on their attacking phases. You look back to Blizzard World, it's exactly what transpired there. So as Saints are looking to try to extend these fights, they're looking to try to delay like we saw from O3 Splash. That's more and more opportunity for Tree to find some of those headshots, and he was very consistent on map number 2. So I like this already from O3 Splash, just changing things up, being more dynamic, eliminating some of those sight lines that Tree is going to be able to play from.
I mean, every sight line is important when you're talking about crossing a Hanzo. Oh, but it's still Tree here. It just doesn't matter. It's still Tree.
Always going to be the threat, always going to be the problem. Still, though, Saints, I mean, they're kind of still playing the sustain game where even when they get some of these picks, they have to be careful because if they do drop a player, if they lose someone, the hold might just be over off of one. So as consistent as Tree is going to be, the rest of the team needs to find that consistency through sustain and reliability. Otherwise, this is going to falter, and they need as much time off here as they could possibly get. They didn't even finish the first section of the map.
Yeah, and realistically, those picks, 90% come from Tree, if anywhere. There is not much one-shot lethality on this team. You're not going to pressure out the Ramatra with your Ramatra. You can pull resources from the main as best you can, but the arrows will do the bidding of Saints by and large. They opt to back up, giving Tree a little bit more room to work with, going back into that high ground, and Tree delivers yet again!
That's another big one, too. Echo going down means, you know, the ability to throw some walls, try to catch the team off guard. It's not there, so False and the rest of Saints can step up. They can try to go for a pretty aggressive play here, and their Squid combines, I think actually combined with Tree there from a body shot. Now Saints are very much in control here on defense, and this is, again, that same problem that we saw in Blizzard World, where just first picks for Saints, and O3 Splash unable to find any kind of way in.
O3 Splash taking a moment to decide their routing. Have to go down a side lane. They want to play for that close range damage. They want to play for the wall of Echo. Often lauded as one of the best Maze in Contenders. Did give them a shot at that. Do jockey back to position. Over on top of the cart. Lukewarm taking the Squid down to half HP. Force the Saints to respect them, but there are still many a tool that they haven't really dealt with yet. The Blizzard, notably of which, is thrown in, slows down neutral in order for Tree to hit that first shot. Not quite over for Saints yet. Echo's still in this one, trying to push out the damage onto False. They need to find that pick, and they do. Tank down, Juby to follow, and the Icicles are heat-seeking.
Oh, that is so huge for O3 Splash. Remember how similar of a situation this is as well. We're seeing Fix holding on to the sound barrier. That's a big, big deal for O3 Splash. They're going to be able to potentially out-sustain when they go Annihilation for Annihilation. Cowman versus False. That could very well decide what's going to go down here in the final moments, what could be at least the final moments of this map. Someone has to step up and make a play, and it looks like it's going to have to be False.
False just steps up in time. Annihilation pops first for Cowman. Aggressive sound barrier for Fix. They're in there like swimwear. There is no way out.
They're not getting
Amplification?
kills,
No, they're not. Now they're just standing there staring down the barrel of an Amplification Matrix with Tree behind it, which might be the worst place in all of Contenders at the moment. King fortunately does fall, relieving a little bit of pressure off the backs of O3 Splash. What's also being relieved is them of their time bank. Only 38 seconds to make it work, and they have! Just the tank stood between them and victory, but they've gotten it on their signature map. Now the rest of the series lie in front of them, only getting more and more difficult as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, think about how this has to go for map number 4. I mean, not to get away from the impressive result that we see here on map number 3, especially Echo again. Incredible performance on that Mei. But, I mean, where are we going to go from map number 4? Probably Esperanza, right? Winston map. How did that go for Ilios? Not so hot. So, obviously, still very much an uphill battle for O3 Splash, but at least they've taken those first steps.
And at least they're managing to match this DPS line now. We're really starting to see Lukewarm and Echo heat up, which is what you really need. And honestly, we've seen this before. It wasn't just the Ilios thing. Like, Lukewarm taking a couple maps to heat up, it seems to just be a pattern. The further the series goes, the better he seems to play. And Echo as well has put on some phenomenal stuff with the Mei. And you need that kind of performance because Tree alone was nearly able to match the output of those two on just the Hanzo.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a difficulty, especially going up against Saints, because obviously, as the whole roster has just been playing very well, Tree becomes even more of a problem because you can't invest all of your resources into dealing with that one player. There's so much more that you have to contend with, and obviously O3 Splash are kind of coming at this from something of a similarity, but also very much different in the way that they approach that, where obviously Lukewarm is a massive factor in their ability to turn fights that they shouldn't be winning, where you can see them get, massive value out of some of those big flanks on Shambali like we just saw to end their defense, but obviously a different approach. Two teams doing something similar but entirely different ways, and I think the team that has come out ahead obviously has been Saints so far, but O3 Splash with that big win there, I think definitely bodes well for their potential to be able to get through this series and maybe find a way into the grand final after being an OD team in the lower bracket, even getting third place. What a story that is. But we are going to be moving on into a map number 4, and this is where we get to determine, okay, is there a future here for O3 Splash, or is it going to come to a close pretty early?
I can't foretell the future, but I can tell you that this might be a slightly better future than the one they were looking for. New Queen Street at least opens up opportunities for them.
Not the map I expected.
Yeah, we were really expecting Esperanza, so this may have been a letting off of the foot from the neck by Saints, or maybe they just want to go back to that Junker Queen that they were dominating on in map number 1 and try and double up on that.
Yeah, there definitely is a couple of avenues, I think, here that could be successful for Saints, and that's what makes them so scary to play against, and what is so surprising about the fact that they're even in this game to begin with, that they're not in a grand final already, is the fact that they can offer up so many different looks that all look, very diverse. Obviously, we see things like the Winston rush compositions, we see things like the Ramatra, we see things like the Junker Queen, and all of them look phenomenal. And I think the former, the first and the latter, going between those are probably their most dominant compositions. So Obviously, they're pretty solid on the Ramatra, but it's that Winston is that Junker Queen that I think really sets them apart. And like you said, I think the Junker Queen is something that they can certainly play here on NQS, and they were already dominant in this series playing that, and they could do the exact same thing here. Just go back to what they did on Ruins.
Yeah, the only worry I have for Saints now is that NQS is not Ilios. It is not a linear map where you're fighting front to back so often. I say it every time.
Unleashed Lukewarm.
It's built like Swiss cheese, and Lukewarm's going to find his way through those holes one way or another to try and make those flanks happen, because that is simply the win condition for O3 Splash. If you let that happen, you will lose to them. Saints, though, I don't think they're at the point where they need to pull the big shiny red lever on the wall. Like, there is no emergency happening at the Saints headquarters. Everything is still relatively going to plan. They managed to take not just an O3 Splash on Blizzard World, but put up a solid fight on that following map. Yeah, this is about what's happening right now. It has been a rough one.
Old differential there, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I think, going into this map, Saints certainly, I don't think they need to feel like, any sort of distress, any sort of anxiety about this picture. But I mean, obviously, with their map pick, they have that allowance. But should O3 Splash miraculously find a way through this pick, and again, there is some possibilities here. There are some possibilities here for Lukewarm to go on those flanks and really kind of do what O3 Splash love to do here. And we'll see if that works out for them, just kind of surrounding Saints, getting those flanks going. If we go to a map 5, the best possible control map for Saints is already out of the picture. It was Ilios. So this becomes very much a 50-50 if we go to a map 5. So Saints obviously have to finish it here.
If we take a look at rollout, very different compositions. O3 Splash on very familiar waters. Saints, though, offering up a Genji alongside Tree's Ash. A combination that was run for some time in Overwatch 1, right? The Genji there to dash through those burnt down dynamite targets and finish off health bars. Can put in a lot of work, especially with King piloting it. I think the struggle is really just getting anywhere near O3 Splash without getting obliterated by Echo and crew.
I think that's something that Saints don't mind, though. I don't think they mind not being in there. Of course, now they probably wish they could because, no speed boost is going to make it a little bit harder. They're down one player. O3 Splash could just dive right in on them.
This has gone phenomenally for O3 Splash to start out. And I think, again, as much as we talked about the front to back not going well on Ilios, very, very, very different map, and the pressure dynamic between Cowman and False has completely flipped on its head given the geometry.
Oh, and you see the matching here from Saints as well. That's interesting because I think we did see Saints actually winning out a lot of that pressure game early on. Obviously, a lot of LOS being taken by O3 Splash, but Tree was laying in that dynamite. You're still seeing a lot of pressure going out, and now they match, but O3 Splash have the ults. They have the momentum.
The match isn't a tough compositional swap for Saints. They're not really giving too much up in doing this in terms of ultimate charge. Holy Lukewarm! In his feet a little bit too wet there, but does manage to escape unscathed. We get probably scared, may need a new pair of pants. He's alright. Cowman looking for an opportunity to re-engage O3 Splash. Disengaged cleanly yet again. In this Ram versus Ram, they have been so consistent with that, man. And now it's just strike back. They have more ultimates because of those swaps earlier from Saints. And now it's Saints paying the price for it. This could very well be an incredibly early cap for O3 Splash.
It looks like that's going to be the case here. I mean, what can Saints really do? Down a player. They're still waiting for that respawn. This is certain to be a cap, and there it goes. I mean, we already talked about how O3 Splash kind of rely on Lukewarm to heat up. He started to hit gear last map on Shimbali on their defense. Now it feels like he's hitting really that high end, full RPM, like everything's chugging along for O3 Splash and Lukewarm specifically.
Cowman's looking for a side angle. Saints still don't really have too much in the way of ultimates for the next 5 seconds or so until basically all of them come up. O3 Splash want to win before those critical ultimates do come up. They managed to pull a Blizzard out of King as well. Aiko's answered with one of his own, but unfortunately gets the short end of the stick in terms of Maze. Now those Saints have spent their sound barrier. O3 Splash have theirs should they want to use it. Cowman so low fix. I think recognized that he didn't react in time if they wanted to throw it down. Either way, they've got a critical tool going into the next fight.
That's a big win there for Saints. Obviously, getting something going a little bit earlier on is the only way forward here. This is a map that you can see big swings going back late. Obviously, just because we see this early cap by O3 Splash doesn't mean it's all over, but Saints need to get something going pretty quick here for O3 Splash really kind of settle in, and they're getting close here.
I like the look positionally from Saints. They try to wrap their way back to that high ground after pushing the cart. But I'm not sure they got all the way up to where they wanted to be. Lukewarm with an overclock. Not quite yet ready. This is down Tree, who's already got one in the fold. Doesn't seem to matter, though. That Lukewarm Sojourn has just been an incredible specialty. Tree made his name on this hero, but is struggling to find the same impact that we're seeing out of the player who has just been kind of the player of the tournament so far.
Oh, big win here for O3 Splash. Saints just get no value realistically out of that fight that they won on their side of the map, and now O3 Splash are sending it back the other direction, the bot. I mean, Saints, you look at the economy as well, and things are just not looking good in their position right now. There's still certainly plenty of time left, but O3 Splash basically just get to play defense here, and that is a massive boon in O3 Splash's favor.
I still want to see him go early here. I mean, there's a sound barrier on the horizon here for Juby, and if O3 Splash can win before that comes online, it'd be nice. They opt not to, though. Try and just hold that range, play for those picks. Eiko's Icicles have been, I think, notably more lethal than King's in a lot of these situations, so when it comes to a range fight, you are at a distinct advantage. Now, though, they bring things close up. Hitting a big freeze onto False, lowering those health bars, but the sound barrier didn't hit False! Oh, they didn't hit the one person they really needed to with it. Juby comes up just short now, O3 Splash. Putting icing on the cake, it's gravy on top of the mashed potato. It is the cherry on top of a push earlier that went perfectly to plan. It's only getting worse for Saints.
Yeah, I mean, that play right there was everything for O3 Splash, just pulling False away from the rest of the team. Saints just weren't able to catch him with it. Now Saints are desperately trying to find their way back in. They're probably going to get the kill on the Cowman, but Cowman returns already.
Come on. Nah, O3 just have it right now. They just got that dog. They're not going down without a fight. Sound barrier. Throw in a Kitsune rush for good measure. A victory lap around New Queen Street for O3 Splash, who have taken control of not just this map, but I think we can firmly say the series with their passage of play in the past 20 minutes alone. A map completion here would be to spit in the faces of Saints, who put them down to 2 maps faster than we've seen any team thus far. Tree Pops and Overclock trying to find an answer to the questions that O3 Splash continue to pose at them, but it's Squid who gives them an opportunity at the end of the day, putting down Fix and opening up the doors for an annihilation from False.
Still have to solidify this fight, though. Cowman taking a ton of damage. It's just a matter of time here before Saints finally get the job done here, but Thor, the damage, it feels like it's done. I mean, 120 meters, I mean, just moments away from actually full capping the map, and now there's only 3.5 minutes left. Saints drained of resources, effectively, really just going to be relying on the sound barrier from Juvie in this next one, and against an Annihilation that could drain a lot of that overshield off. They're just, I mean, we talk about uphill battles for O3 Splash. The tides have turned, man. They have turned.
O3 Splash still have high ground control as well. Saints have not broken the forward spawns, which is going to make this all the more obnoxious for them to actually play into. I like that they're actually giving space. Oh, no. Oh, this is mean, dude. I love when teams do this. Yeah, O3 Splash just refused to push and fight on that corner. They don't need the progress. Saints need the progress. So they're going to force them to fight into the high ground, into the forward spawns. This is as uncomfortable as it gets for Saints. They move forward and stand beneath them, but O3 Splash still completing the pacifist run of New Queen Street in the final 3 minutes. What do you even do? What do you even do here, Ix?
You somehow have to find some kind of pick, and it's so difficult. I mean, look at how much limitation O3 Splash are placing upon Saints. Saints are going to have to force a resource out just to get into position to make a play, and here you go. Sound barrier to open.
The second Saints step forward, they're met with a barrage of ultimates from O3 Splash. Kree gives them a bit of reprieve to the team, and in fact, has found them a way out. I'm going to be honest, it's going to take a lot more than this. If Tree is to do this, the entire map, it's going to be like what Kojima would call Strand-type gameplay, the way he'd need to backpack.
I think an interesting take from O3 Splash as well. I would have kept playing the disengage game. Force Saints, like, I mean, you're in a great spot to be able to force something out of them. Then, as soon as you get that sound barrier, full disengage. Send everything to make sure that you can get out, and then go ahead and keep holding. Yes, you're going to give away your forward spawn, but either way, you'll pull more time out. But, I mean, at this stage, it almost doesn't even matter. They just can't get picked like that, though, so that's the only way Saints get back into this.
Tree of Life delivers again. Saints now burn forward onto the health bars of O3 Splash, which still are upright until Fix goes down. No sound barrier inside O3. I've got to call it. Maybe? Also down. Wait, that's bad. It's not good for Saints. Tree's still up, though, and thus the fight remains in flux. O3 Splash will come back eventually, and Overclock pops to try and keep this fight at least in a winnable position, but I don't think there's too much else for O3 Splash to do. They don't have the bodies to throw at that cart that they really need. More onto Juby, though, does give them some breathing room.
This feels like a Saints recharged and reborn. This is the Saints that we saw in map number 1, but fortunate that they're potentially a little bit late to the party. Still some time on the clock, though, but a lot of distance yet for them to cover. Tree has to be a hero, a miracle worker to get the job done here.
Overclock up, Tree again. It's got to be putting on a deadlift at this point. I haven't looked at the stats, but there's no way it's not happening. Annihilation pop to extend the life of the fight for Saints, and it does exactly that. Falsto drops low and only really has the heals from Juby. Sound Barrier gives them one more shot at taking this one away. In fact, they'll do exactly that. Overclock from Tree is the final nail in the coffin. A point has been capped, and at least some reprieve found for Saints, who now will make a mad dash towards the end of the map in overtime.
Tree is just putting on a masterclass right now. So close now to the deadlift. Just barely shy of it. Finally, the cap comes through, but now everything left in this map is going to come to overtime. So Saints have to continue to contest. That's going to place a ton of pressure onto False, and Saints do not have defensive resources. Watch for O3 Splash to drop this Blizzard in. Saints are going to have to fend O3 Splash off with their own.
Well, the problem is, well, now you've lost.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's disaster. Their savior no longer lives. Blizzard on cart could be it. O3 Splash have fought their way back through hell and high water to try and win this one, but Juby begs to differ, finding final blows on the Lucio that only he can, but without the help of Tree. Where does the damage come from here? Because I just don't think it's there. Lukewarm with a signature overclock could put an end to things. Cowman's dropped low, though. And Tree's back.
He somehow has to do the impossible. We're going to be seeing the backline coming back in from O3 Splash. King has to live for what feels like eternities, but Saints, they're on their rebound. They're coming back in.
A late KR basically is only Echo and Neutral now to try and hold on to this cart, but Neutral happy to deliver. A frantic final few moments there for O3 Splash, but they set the pace for the map early on, and we're in control. They levy that into a massive win, a reverse sweep in the cards, in a match that looked like it was already in the books.
Chaos in the final moments. Definitely a lot different than what we saw through the first, basically half. But Saints, they're firing back. They look a lot better than what we've seen from them in the last 2 maps, especially in the first half of this last one. And if this goes the way of what we saw there in the final moments in our map number 5, this is going to be, one of the best finishes to a series we have ever seen.
It's simultaneously been one of the best series that we've seen this season, and also the quickest. Every last one of these maps. Push is going to go 10 minutes pretty much no matter what, right? But, every one of these maps has been extremely short-lived. See if the pattern continues. I'm hoping for 3 sub-maps in this map 5. If we don't get at least that, we're being robbed here.
Definitely feels that way. And especially when you consider going into map number 5, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a one-sided map pick. Obviously Ilios was going to be that for Saints, but it's gone. We already went through that. It's done and dusted map number 1. So now we get into a map number 5 where that pick could go a bunch of different ways. I'm real excited, man.
Oh, man. This has been a hell of a match, and Tree is just making it look all the more interesting. I feel like we're on the next time on Dragon Ball Z, and Tree's just starting to heat up. You see him begin to overheat, but yet to be seen whether he can deliver in a map number 5. See you guys after the break. Tracer has quickly become one of the most popular heroes in high-level Overwatch 2. It takes insane mechanical skill, cerebral game sense, and ice in your veins to make impact plays with her, but these players make it look easy.
Maimon and Vestal are just playing off of each other perfectly.
W Maimon, by the way, found one who built that Transcendence. And a pulse bomb connects onto both Fuki and Turkey. W Maimon on this map on Havana truly has been next level.
And just as their eyes glance away, a pulse bomb connects to the back of their head. Canale and Cookie hit the dirt. Rocket trying. Rocket could be a hero in moments like these. Rocket saved the day again. Rocket's gonna chase him out too. Oh, and he traitor gaps him. Yeah, Rocket's that guy right now. Let's be real, guys. If you're watching this, you probably know exactly what I'm about to talk about. But in case you missed it or you haven't set your alarms or calendars, the East and the West are clashing. It's mid-season madness time, baby. June 15th through 17th on the Overwatch League. Be sure to head over there. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the action.
Yeah, we got a pretty good look at it ourselves. Got to see some of the East teams clashing firsthand. Casting some of those games was a blast. Definitely excited to see where those teams are going to end up in the midseason madness. But we really got to focus in on this one because what looked to be one of the quickest matches we would have seen to date is looking like it's going to be one of the best matches we've seen to date. This, I mean, completely turned on its head.
If I told you what you're talking about right now, 20 minutes ago, you would have called me insane.
I mean, we knew going into map number 3. Let's take a quick look at the map breakdown, actually, while we're going over this. If we took a look after map 2, we knew Shambali was going to be one that O3 Splash could get some value on, right? But then we go into a map number 4 where, I mean, you and I expected Esperanza. That's not where we went. In fact, it was NQS, and O3 Splash commanded on map number 4. Now we move into Saints pick yet again here, and this is going to be on Lijiang Tower, and this is where things get, I mean, if it's not already interesting, it's about to be right here. That Ilios map pick on Control, that was the big one for Saints. Now here, this is much more of a 50-50 for both of these teams.
Yeah, and Lijiang, one of those maps that we always talk about that changes so much map to map. Ilios, a lot of front to back play. Whether even if you're changing comps, the game plan doesn't often change there. Lijiang Tower, though, map to map changes comp to comp, and we're starting out on what I would consider neutral ground.
Yeah, looking like we're going to be starting out here, I believe, on Night Market. We'll have to see if we do settle in there. But yeah, like you're talking about, I mean, obviously, things like Brawl and Rush look so good on Control Center. Then you move over to Gardens, and you see a lot of value gained for compositions that involve things like Dive. And on Night Market, that's where you can see teams really kind of solidify, okay, this is probably going to be our style. This is what we're going to be leaning into. And as we get prepared here to dive into Night Market, I mean, what a way to start things off. 50-50, pretty much here. We'll have to see, though, as things progress. I mean, you and I were talking a little bit. We were saying, you know, we hope to see round number 3. It feels like an inevitability. It feels like a guarantee that we're going to round number 3 here.
Feels like we might be heading that direction. We'll see, though. Saints, interestingly enough, have put back in False, though, to play this map. They want to lean into this Ram. Try and take that mirror. It is a lot easier said than done, though. Tree on a slide-off angle for the rollout here. Makes for an interesting position for O3 Splash to play. Other than that, nothing too non-standard about who wants to play attack and who wants to play defense. Seems like O3 Splash opt for the latter.
O3 Splash, have to be careful. Echo working his way in, but could take a lot of damage here. We'll have to see, though. Saints not really opting for playing aggressively. They're just biding time for Tree here, and I think this is a good move from Saints. They might give up early control, but they might be able to win the fight, which is certainly more important.
I mean, we may have been saying any given Saturday this whole tournament, but right now it's any given arrow for either of these teams. Tree and Lukewarm are the 2 players to watch if they weren't already. Good job, though, by Calman holding this position. It's not easy, and every bit of percentage that you rack up early here does matter because you're on mirror compositions. It's not like one of these is meant to play from the outside of the point and one of them is meant to play from the inside. They are both wanting to be in control, and only O3 Splash is gaining percentage right now, though Tree delivers on that arrow promise. Delivered quite swiftly as well, only 30% on the clock.
It's such a house gamble, too, right? When you're talking about Tree on Hanzo, I mean, at a certain point, you're going to win. It's just a matter of time. That's exactly what Saints get. They get that kill into neutral, and now they have control. O3 Splash did a phenomenal job, though, through that tense engagement in the neutral fight.
Oh,
and now
come
Tree,
on!
This is the Devastator that Saints have laid in for the first 2 maps, and oh man, are they back for map number 5.
I mean, what do you do about that? It's just as a counterplay.
Just stay in your spawn where you're invulnerable.
Didn't they give Widow fall off damage like? But that's still allowed. But that's still allowed. I digress.
It's a projectile, man. It's got travel time.
Oh yeah. Very, very different. Anyways, Calman stepping towards the point with an Annihilation hand, though Juby has the first sound barrier, not by an insignificant margin either. Saints are working with a lot more here. So if you want to talk about house money, we can start talking now. Lukewarm makes things interesting though. Opener onto Squid. Aggressive plays though. Blizzard, Annihilation, both burn through pretty quickly. O3 Splash have managed to absorb a lot of the pressure, but not all of it, unfortunately. Saints throw in the brunt of their damage, but that also means the brunt of their ultimates.
Yeah, and at this point, O3 Splash, I mean, they threw everything in the kitchen sink along with it, but Saints answered with literally the exact same thing. So while O3 Splash are going to have Sound Barrier and Blizzard coming in, they're probably going to be able to turn this fight around. This is still a good position for Saints because they won the one that mattered, and now they have a massive lead to play from.
There it goes. Oh, no. That was just too much sauce. I think they wanted a more confident step forward, but something caught the back line of O3 Splash, causing them to hesitate at the door. Lukewarm does make this really weird, though. No tanks means that we just stare at the DPS and wait for which one comes out on top. O3 Splash move forward onto the point with a really wise wall from Echo. The May hours beginning to show in moments like this as Saints are rapidly having to give up position as King's not able to find the same value.
Oh, picks are going to determine who comes out ahead here, and Lukewarm just doesn't see Tree on his side. Everybody from Saints have just found a perfect angle, and with False back here on the Doomfist, there is just no way you're going to be able to get anything done. Very good swap from False to get value out of that Doomfist in those final moments just to help kind of rally the troops. Already a fantastic start for Saints,
Control
right?
center? Show me control center. Come on. One time. All I ask. Oh, man, we get debated by the replays, too. We won't even know. O3 Splash are praying for the same thing I am, though. And hopefully send them on to a sub-map number 3. They've got problems to address here. Tree's Hanzo is virtually uncontested in the server right now. Dude, and it delivers. Oh, my God. Oh, I don't know what they're praying to or who they believe in, but they gotta pay him double.
All right, let's get this going. Round number 2 of map 5 and a 1-3 here. Saints already with a great start with that first round win and caught Echo out. It's going to force a couple of resources away from O3 Splash, but no kill just yet. Saints have been so consistent with those first bloods. They're looking to get a little bit more of the same here in round number 2.
Warren versus Tree, though. DPS matchup. I would say as old as time, but I think Tree pretty young in the years. Already showing the older crowd how to do it, though. Big opener, big fight for Saints.
I think the big thing that we're seeing now is that, I mean, Tree is just taking command of this series yet again here. I mean, we saw it early on in the series, those first 2 maps especially. He's back here in map number 5 when it really matters to turn up the heat. O3 Splash, they have lukewarm, but Tree is on fire.
Not unlike Canada. Huh? Think about it. That's kind of canon right now. Tree, if anybody's going to be on fire at this moment, Saints is doing particularly well at it. Echo getting poked out. King looking for a chance towards the back line, and in fact, has diverted the flow of O3 Splash quite well. Don't manage to capitalize on it at all. Now it's Saints on the back foot with the help of Lukewarm coming in from the wings. A Blizzard looks to regain fight control for Saints, but it's really the Sojourn still that are doing the brunt of the damage. King down, Fix to follow. Lukewarm, though, takes claim over the high ground.
I think the problem here is that O3 Splash, they still have this kind of broken down fight that they still have to win, and now they have to expend resources just to try to get the job done there. They do push Saints back, but they haven't won the fight.
It's slowly but surely going that way. Lukewarm having the high ground just feels like kind of that same inevitability gets Tree working with Hanzo arrows for a certain amount of time. So eventually, there is some stabilization from the side of Saints. Juby comes back with a sound barrier that actually is just perfectly timed. Not to mention well coordinated. The entirety of Saints moves forward at the same time. Cowman, though, has other plans. Annihilation makes things messy. Silver linings, though. O3 Splash, yes, they're likely to get the point in this moment, but look at the percentage here. It's dire.
Yeah, 80% captured by Saints, and they still haven't even really gotten those last couple of kills that they needed to get. So Saints are back in a great position. Tree opens things up again.
Lukewarm has got to duel out this opposing Sojourn. It just has to be a better overclock. Both of them earn down, and when the dust settles, it's Saints ahead. False, though, is low, and just had an immortality field force. The Saints tank steps too far. You rarely ever see that from False, but fortunately it's traded on to Cowman. Now, though, we're looking at another extended fight. This time O3 Splash in control of the point, racking up the percentage.
O3 Splash still have to stabilize a little bit longer here.
Amp Matrix is
great position with Amp Matrix up, but Saints now stepping forward. They have the Blizzard to back them up as well.
Blizzard does just enough to turn this one. Form's still up and will give them a shot at turning this fight back around, but with the tanks in tow, everything gets messy. O3 Splash realize what they're walking into, that this could be the end of their lower bracket run. Just 10% to go.
They have to step on. They have to get Neutral back into fighting position as well. Neutral making the swap over to Moira just to try to make that happen. They are going to step up. They are going to get the touch, but still have to win this fight.
Cowman steps far without being punished. Echo has a Blizzard in the holster. Do you use it in this moment? You've already picked off Tree. How confident are you that you can end this fight without ultimates? There's a realistic future here where O3 Splash hold all their cards and try and make it go.
Oh, that boop.
They get just enough, though. And it does end a fight. The Blizzard was spent, but O3 Splash get the point that they needed.
It was almost a dangerous boop. Almost saved False. I mean, look how close that Annihilation is to O3 Splash. They win the fight, but still so much work yet to be done here for them. 60%. Saints only have to win one fight. They're taking this a little bit slower, just trying to make sure that they have exactly what they need to be able to step up and make some kind of play. But O3 Splash are going to be able to go 1-to-1 on every single ultimate, as well as have that Moira ult. That actually could be huge here,
be
just
the
to add
trump
to the
card.
pressure.
Overclocks from both sides. Lukewarm and Tree laying in the damage. Cowman, though, first down. Lukewarm was looking for the flank. Tree opted to fight for the front line. The correct decision was made by Saints. Overtime burns down. A series that has gone every bit of the distance is won by the team that had it early on. Saints take it, but they will not leave anything less than battered, bruised, beaten down by an 0-3 splash that they look to take on early.
What an incredible run, though, for 0-3 Splash. I mean, Saints get a massive win. They get an opportunity as well. They move on to the grand finals where they were expected to be already. But man, did they have to work their way to that point. 0-3 Splash absolutely stood up to all the competition throughout the lower bracket. They ran through so many top teams, consisting of so many of the top players in the region. They definitely made a major stand. Maps 3 and 4 were all theirs against a team that has been so dominant for so long. That dominance, it just proved a little bit too much. Saints, they move on.
There are a lot of questions being raised by this series, though, Yurix. I mean, 0-3 Splash put up a hell of a fight. They've tired Saints out, loosened up the jar a little bit. He said you got to give credit where it's due. Lukewarm, arguably one of, if not the most influential player in the split. Neutral coming in, putting on one of the most impressive first runs of form we've seen in a hot minute. But Saints have done it. I mean, the neutral being played by the rest of the team was good, but I mentioned it earlier. Kojima would call it Strand-type gameplay. The Tree backpacking as hard as he is. And how consistently can you realistically do that? Timeless have looked indomitable. Can Tree do that to Timeless? Like, how high can the bar go?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we've seen from Timeless is that they've been able to find answers to things like this. That's why we saw them look so good yesterday. The fact that they have someone at the helm like Cuffo to be able to just kind of drive everything forward, keep that tempo high. That's been something that Saints just obviously, you know, a team that really has relied on Tree just finding time for those opening picks. That is definitely a much different dynamic to have to contend against. So obviously a pretty tough matchup still yet to go for Saints. And this was a long one for them to get through to start the day off.
And they got a long way to go, but I think we could ask him a little bit about it. Some insights on this match and the next coming up from False in a bit. And what's good, everybody? We're back, and like I said, we've got False in tow. False, first off, congratulations. I'm sure it feels pretty good to cap off what was probably a pretty stressful series.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, looking at that series, actually, I mean, you know, we've already mentioned the fact that we wanted this to kind of go quick. You know, we want to make sure that you have enough time to get back to your team, figure things out for a grand final. But that was such an incredible series that we have questions we need answered here. So, you know, starting things off, obviously you guys got off to a hot start. You know, kind of what was going on in your mind once you got through map 1 and map 2 and things were going very much your way, and then you knew that Shambali was looming, right?
Yeah, we were really confident in our other comps, like our non-rush comps, so we weren't too surprised by like going up 2-0. We were definitely still concerned about map 3 and going into the rush, because that's like what we've been like trying to work on the most recently. So we weren't really too sure what would happen. We did our best, but I think we made like really good adjustments based off of like what was going wrong in maps 2 and 3, or sorry, in map 3 and 4.
So what did happen? Obviously, I mean, O3 Splash are one of the winningest teams on Shambali, so it's kind of expected there. But map 4 came out, and Jurix and I were both pretty surprised to see Esperanza you picked. To see New Queen Street over Esperanza was kind of wild to us, and then it didn't end up paying off. Can you run me through the thought process and the things that you fixed up during that map?
So we usually we like New Queen Street. We're just like really confident in that Queen matchup there, and usually teams opt to like also play like a Queen or a Monkey comp into us. So we've been like doing really well in that those types of matchups, but we weren't really too prepared for the Ram, so we just ended up taking the Mirror and didn't really go too well. But I think it also kind of helped us in a way, because we figured out the things that were going wrong from the Ram Mirror that we like were able to apply for the 5th map, so we kind of needed it in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of the route that we were taking with that, was that, you know, it was going to be the Jugger Queen. I mean, coming into this this tournament, I mean, we've seen obviously the meta divert a few times. We've seen certain things look really solid, and then over time things have changed, and obviously things are going to be map dependent. But where do you kind of see things right now and the overall picture of things in terms of what to expect, at least for the grand final? Obviously different teams are different, but I mean, what can we look forward to in this final match that you guys have against Timeless?
I'm not gonna lie, it's just gonna be a lot of Ram, I think. Most maps are still just Ram everywhere that hero's broken.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to look towards this finals for more than just gameplay, as much as, I mean, that's certainly going to be offered up in plenty. How does it feel going into this grand finals? Obviously, you guys were kind of the top dog coming into the bracket, end up in the lower after yesterday's matchup. What was the mood like coming out of that game? What did you do following it, and what are you coming in today? What's the mental like?
We reviewed a lot. We know yesterday was like 100% our fault. We only lost to ourselves, so I'm pretty confident we fixed the issues that we had from yesterday, and it should be an easy game today.
Definitely excited about looking forward to that one. Like we said, we don't want to take up too much of your time, False. Obviously, love talking to you. We've got to make sure that we can get a chat going, you know, more often than what we have been. I feel like the last time I chatted with you was like back in Hugh Fest, like a year and a half ago or something
it might have been a long time, yeah.
Got to make sure you pop in for more interviews, man. We love talking to you.
For
but
sure.
Congrats on the big win, and good luck in the grand final, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. See ya.
All right, Jurix, that does it for that match. We have one more left to go, and it's the big one. Grand finals is up next. Timeless going up against Saints to close things out.